Hello students, we will learn amino acids and proteins. So what are amino acids? So a general meaning of amino acid, it can be derived as amino group and an acidic group. So any molecule which is having an amino group and an acidic group attached to the alpha carbon is called as amino acids. And what are proteins? Proteins are the polymers of amino acids. They are bonded together with peptide bond. So proteins, they are the polymers of amino acids, or proteins are organic molecule consisting of many amino acids bonded together. So there are more than 300 amino acids found in the nature, but only 20 amino acids, they are the standard amino acids which are found in proteins. So amino acids, they are building blocks of proteins. So proteins are among the most abundant organic molecules in living systems and are way more diverse in structure and function than other classes of macromolecules. So in other words, amino acids, they are monomers and proteins are the polymers, or amino acids are micromolecules and proteins are macromolecules. Like other macromolecules, proteins, they are more diverse because there are total 20 different types of amino acids makes up the protein. A single cell can contain thousands of proteins, each with a unique function. So there are many proteins in a single cell and in our entire body. So for example, there are some structural proteins: actin, myosin, tropomyosin, troponin. There are some functional proteins, myoglobin, hemoglobin. Then there are enzymes, neurotransmitters, antibodies, and so on. So our body is made up of thousands of proteins. So although their structures like their functions vary greatly, all proteins, they are made up of one or more chains of amino acids. So a protein may be made up of a single polypeptide or many polypeptides. So we'll see basic structure of amino acids. As you can see here, amino acids, they are the monomers that make up proteins. Specifically, a protein is made up of one or more linear chain of amino acids, each of which is called a polypeptide. Poly means many, peptide means amino acid. So many amino acids, they are joined or bonded to form a polypeptide. So there are 20 types of amino acids commonly found in proteins. So you can see here in the structure. So central carbon is called as alpha carbon, and four different groups are attached to the alpha carbon. One amino group, one carboxylic group, one hydrogen atom, and the other is R group or R side chain. So this typically varies in different amino acids. So R chain varies in different amino acid and it is the identity of a particular amino acid. So the remaining three groups, amino group, hydrogen and carboxylic group, they are common to all amino acids. So amino acid vary only in their side chains. So although the generalized amino acid shown here with its amino and carboxylic groups They are neutral for its simplicity. This is not actually the state in which amino acid would typically be found. So amino acids, they are found in charged form. So they may have, so amino group have positive charge and carboxylic group have negative charge on it. So at physiological pH, the amino group is protonated, that is it bears a positive charge, while the carboxylic group is deprotonated, so it bears negative charge. So this is called a Zwitter ion form. Then we will see classification of amino acids. So every amino acid also has another atom or group of atoms bonded to the central atom known as the R group. So the R group, it determines the identity of the amino acid. So the properties of the side chain, it determines an amino acid's chemical behavior, whether the amino acid is acidic or basic or polar or non-polar. So the classification based on following side chain properties. So based on the charge, based on the hydrogen bonding ability, and acidic and basic nature. So amino acids, they are typically, we can divide them into two groups, whether they are water hating amino acids or water loving amino acids. So water loving means hydrophilic, water hating is hydrophobic, or in other words, hydrophobic means non-polar amino acids and hydrophilic is polar amino acids. So hydrophobic amino acids, they are again of two types, alkyl side chain amino acids and aromatic side chain amino acids. Whereas the hydrophilic amino acids, they are neutral amino acids, acidic amino acids and basic amino acids. So then another categories of amino acids based on the properties. So non-polar aliphatic R group amino acids. So total there are 6 such amino acids, aliphatic R group amino acids. Then non-polar aromatic R group amino acids are 3. Polar uncharged or neutral R group amino acids are 6. Polar positively charged basic amino acids are 3. And polar negatively charged acidic R group, they are 2. So total there are 20 different types of amino acids. So we can see here the categories of amino acids and their structures. So non-polar aliphatic R group amino acids. So first is glycine. So you can see here glycine amino acid, it is the smallest amino acid. So in the R chain only hydrogen atom is present. So it has a central alpha carbon atom. So this is a non-chiral carbon. Glycine amino acid has non-chiral carbon. So that's why it cannot occur in D and L isoform. So it is the smallest amino acid. Then next aliphatic R chain amino acid is alanine. So alanine is second simplest amino acid. So its R chain is having CH3. Then valine. So valine amino acid has the R chain CH, CH3, CH3. So these amino acids, they are hydrophobic amino acid. So as the length of their aliphatic chain increases, their hydrophobicity increases. It means glycine is least hydrophobic, alanine is more hydrophobic, then valine is again more hydrophobic, leucine is again more hydrophobic. Okay, and the most hydrophobic among this is the isoleucine. So it has largest aliphatic R group. Then next is leucine. So leucine, it has its side chain is CH2CH, CH3, CH3. So it is also an essential branched chain amino acid. So it has an additional methylene group in its side chain compared to valine. The next is methionine. So methionine side chain is also lengthy, and it is the sulfur containing amino acid. In its structure, sulfur is present. It is also having a longer hydrophobic side chain. So the sulfur of methionine, it is prone to oxidation, so it can form disulfide bond. So it is also act as methyl donor in most of the reactions. Then isoleucine. So isoleucine, its molecular formula and molecular weight, it is similar to leucine. Only the structural formula is different because these are isomers. It is one of the three amino acids having branched hydrophobic side chain. So isoleucine is necessary for the formation of proteins like hemoglobin, several hormones, and regulates the blood sugar level. The next category is non-polar aromatic R group. So aromatic R group means a ring structure. So ring structure is present in these three amino acids: phenylalanine, tyrosine, and tryptophan. So these amino acids, they have large hydrophobic side chain in the form of this ring. So phenylalanine, it is an essential amino acid having molecular formula C9H11, nitrogen and O2. So it resembles alanine where benzyl group is substituted for methyl group. So that's why its name is phenylalanine. So due to its UV light absorbing capacity, it is also used to quantify protein amount. So it is also the precursor in biosynthesis of amino acids such as tyrosine. So tyrosine is prepared from phenylalanine, and also the neurotransmitters dopamine and norepinephrine, they are synthesized from the phenylalanine. Then next amino acid is tyrosine. So it is also having an aromatic non-polar amino acid with molecular formula C9H11 NO3. So it is sparingly soluble in water. So this is also hydrophobic amino acid. So the enzyme required for synthesis of tyrosine is phenylalanine hydroxylase. Those who lack this enzyme, they cannot synthesize tyrosine, and therefore tyrosine is essential and required in diet. So some proteins like protamine and histone contain almost no tyrosine. Some proteins doesn't have tyrosine amino acid. Then tryptophan. So this is the largest amino acid. And which is the smallest amino acid? Glycine. and largest amino acid is tryptophan. So it is the largest amino acid and it is least abundant of all the amino acid. So it is an essential but complex and largest amino acid found in proteins. So it's a precursor, it is the precursor for the hormone serotonin. So serotonin is also a neurotransmitter that regulates sleep, pain and mood. So it is also an antidepressant. Tryptophan is the only amino acid completely destroyed upon acid hydrolysis of proteins. The next category is polar uncharged or neutral R group. So here the amino acids are serine. So they are polar because OH group is there and they are uncharged. So their R group doesn't have any charge. So this is serine. So serine amino acid was first found in silk protein sericin, where it is present in relatively high proportion. So it contains OH group in the side chain that makes it more hydrophilic. So therefore a suitable amino acid for the reaction center in enzymes. So the OH group can be phosphorylated, that can be used to regulate protein and enzyme activity. The next OH containing amino acid is threonine. It is also structurally homologous to serine. Its relative abundance in protein is less than that of serine. So threonine is needed for the synthesis of glycine and serine. Then next amino acid, that is cysteine. So cysteine is again one of the sulfur containing amino acid. So another sulfur containing amino acid is, we have discussed, that is methionine. Here cysteine is the sulfur containing amino acid but in polar uncharged group. So cysteine and serine share structural similarity. Only difference is cysteine has SH and serine has OH in its side chain. So cysteine amino acid is important in disulfide bond formation. So this SH group, it on oxidation it forms disulfide bond. So the two adjacent cysteine amino acids come together to form disulfide bond, which is a covalent bond. Then next amino acid is proline. So proline is readily soluble in water. It is different from other amino acid. So this amino acid is actually amino acid, as in protonated state it doesn't have NH3 plus but NH2 plus. So this is an amino acid. So the unique structure of proline disrupts alpha helix in globular proteins and contributes to the formation of fibrous structure in collagen. So proline amino acid is not present in helix structure. So it is also called as helix breaker because of its ring form. It destabilizes the helix structure. So it is always present outside the helix. Then asparagine. Asparagine amino acid. So the amide groups, they do not carry a formal charge. They do not have any charge on them. So they are uncharged, both asparagine and glutamine. So they have an extra amino group in their side chain. So these are the amide amino acids. Then polar positively charged amino acid or basic R group. So their R group is basic. So first we will see lysine. So lysine, this amino acid is positively charged. You can see the amino group in the side chain, it is having positive charge. So it is also the essential amino acids and they are frequently found in histone proteins. So histone proteins, which is found in the packaging of DNA, it is rich in this positively charged amino acid lysine. So lysine seems to be active against herpes simplex virus and present in many forms of diet supplements. Lysine competes with arginine for absorption and entry into the cell. Hence, lysine inhibits growth of HSV virus by knocking out arginine. Then the arginine amino acid. So the side chain of arginine is a positively charged guanidine group. Arginine is most suited to bind phosphate ions and is usually found in the active centers of proteins that bind to phosphorylated substrates. Arginine is required in urea cycle. So urea is the principal nitrogenous waste material in some animals. So in urea cycle the arginine is required. Both the side groups of arginine and lysine, they are fully protonated at pH 7. So under physiological condition, the protonated side chains of arginine and lysine participate in electrostatic interactions in proteins. Then another next positively charged amino acid is histidine. So the ring structure of histidine is imidazole ring. So it is found in the active sites of enzymes where it plays important role as electron donor and acceptor in many enzyme reactions at pH near that of existing in the cell. Then negatively charged amino acid. So these are the polar negatively charged or acidic group amino acids. So there are R chain or R group is acidic. So carboxyl, they have an extra carboxylic group which is protonated to form to give negative charge. So aspartate. So aspartic acid and glutamic acid both are polar and they are dicarboxylic monoamine acids. So side chain carboxylic groups, they are weaker acids than alpha carboxylic group. So therefore they are categorized as negatively charged amino acids. So metal binding proteins contain aspartate and glutamate side chains in the metal binding sites. Then glycine. So glycine amino acid it have no chiral carbon. So we can see two hydrogen atoms, they are bonded to the alpha carbon. So it shows no optical activity. So no isomers are there in the glycine. So it is optically inactive. You can see proline, it has an R group that's lined back to its own amino group, forming a ring structure. So proline is found outside the helix. So you can see here cysteine amino acid, it has SH group. So it can form covalent bond with other cysteine, resulting in the formation of cysteine. So another sulfur containing amino acid is methionine. Then one more concept, essential and non-essential amino acids. So all amino acids are required for normal functioning of the body. However, whether they are synthesized by the body or not, they are classified into two groups, that is essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. So essential amino acids are which are not synthesized by our body are called as essential amino acids. So these amino acids they are taken in the diet or needs to be taken in diet to complete their need. Such amino acids are called as essential amino acids. And non-essential amino acids which are synthesized by our body are called non-essential amino acids. These amino acids are synthesized out of other chemicals found in our body, so not necessary to be needs to be taken in diet. We will see the list of these amino acids. So non-essential amino acid, so alanine is non-essential amino acid because it is synthesized from pyruvic acid. So pyruvic acid, it is at the end of glycolysis, pyruvic acid is formed. So from this pyruvic acid alanine can be formed. Then arginine, so it is synthesized from glutamic acid. Then asparagine, it is synthesized from aspartic acid. Then aspartic acid is synthesized from oxaloacetic acid. Then cysteine is synthesized from homocysteine, which comes from methionine. Glutamic acid, it is synthesized from oxoglutaric acid. Glutamine is synthesized from glutamic acid. Glycine is synthesized from serine and threonine. Proline, this amino acid is synthesized from the amino acid glutamic acid. The serine is synthesized from glucose and tyrosine is synthesized from phenylalanine. So these are all non-essential amino acids. Then essential amino acids which are not synthesized by our body is histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, valine. So these are the 9 amino acids which are essential to our body. So they are need to be taken daily in the diet. Now we will see peptide bond. So the amino acids of a polypeptide are attached to their neighbors by covalent bonds known as the peptide bonds. The special bond or linkage that joins two amino acids is called peptide bond. It is an amide covalent bond that is formed when carboxylic group of one amino acid reacts with amino group of another amino acid, releasing a water molecule. So the resulting bond between amino acids is called a peptide bond. So you can see the structure. two amino acids are there, the two adjacent amino acid, there is formation of a peptide bond with the release of water molecule. So the bond is actually C double bond O and NH in between these two amino acid molecules. Then we will see protein conformation or structure. So there are total 4 different levels of protein structure: primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure, and quaternary structure. So what is protein? So the term protein was coined in 1838 by G. J. Mulder. So proteins are polypeptide chains with defined biological roles. So protein molecule may have more than one polypeptide. So polypeptides, they are polymers of amino acids joined by peptide bond. So proteins have been called foot soldiers of the living cells. So protein are diverse in nature, so they perform different types of functions. So that's why they are also called as foot soldiers. So functionally they are most diverse. Now we'll see the secondary structure of a protein. So primary structure of a protein is just simply the sequence of amino acid joined by peptide bond. Then secondary structure of a protein, so it refers to local folded structures that form within a polypeptide due to interactions between atoms of the backbone. So the most common types of secondary structures are the alpha helix and beta pleated sheets. Both structures, they are held in shape by hydrogen bonds which form between the carbonyl oxygen of one amino acid and the amino hydrogen of another amino acid. So we will see the structure of an alpha helix. So in an alpha helix, the carbonyl oxygen of one amino acid is hydrogen bonded to the amino hydrogen of an amino acid that is 4 down the chain, means 4 down the chain, next fourth amino acid. So example, the carbonyl of amino acid 1 would form a hydrogen bond to the NH of amino acid 5 in a helix. So that's why hydrogen bonding stabilizes the helix. So this pattern of bonding pulls the polypeptide chain into a helical structure that resembles a curled ribbon or a spiral structure. So each turn of the helix containing 3.6 amino acids. So there is per residue or per amino acid rises 1.5 angstrom. So the rise per turn is 1.5 into 3.6 is 5.4 angstrom, means each complete helix is about 5.4 angstrom in length. So the R groups of the amino acid stick outwards from the helix where they are free to interact. The shorthand drawing of the alpha helix is a ribbon or a rod-like structure. You can see here in the diagram. So that rod is the central axis of this alpha helix. So you can see in this diagram the actual helix and it's the molecules or atoms organized in the helix and the bond formation. So the hydrogen bond formation between amino acid 1 and amino acid 5. So that is N and N plus 4. The next secondary structure is a beta pleated sheet. So in a beta pleated sheet, two or more segments of a polypeptide chain line up next to each other. So the beta pleated sheet can be parallel if the polypeptide chains line up parallel, and anti-parallel if their direction or orientation is opposite to the uh, adjacent sheet. So the hydrogen bonds form between carbonyl and amino groups of backbone, while the R groups extend above and below the plane of the sheet. So the beta sheet is a regular and rigid structure. It is often represented by a series of flattened arrows. So this is a local foldings present in a polypeptide. So each arrow points forward towards the C terminus. So the strands of a beta pleated sheet may be parallel, that is pointing in the same direction, that is N to C terminus, or anti-parallel pointing in the opposite direction. So anti-parallel sheets are more stable than parallel beta pleated sheets. You can also see a fragment of a polypeptide showing alpha helix, then beta pleated sheet, so anti-parallel beta pleated sheet. So the orientation is opposite. The adjacent polypeptides, they are in opposite orientation, N to C terminus, then C to N terminus, and again N to C terminus. Whereas the parallel beta sheets, they are all N to C terminus. Then we will see the tertiary structure of a protein. So the tertiary structure of a protein refers to the folding of its secondary structural components in compact three-dimensional spaces by specifying the position of each atom, including those of side chains. Example, myoglobin. So tertiary structure is the higher level structure of all proteins. So the tertiary structure is primarily due to interaction between the R groups. So primary structure of a protein is because of just simply the peptide bond. Secondary structure of a protein is because of hydrogen bonding, and tertiary structure of a protein is because of interaction between the R groups of the amino acids that make up the protein. So four different types of bonds are possible due to interaction between the R groups. So disulfide bond, ionic bond, hydrogen bond, and hydrophobic interaction. So disulfide bonds, they are formed between the two cysteine amino acids. So whenever the two cysteine amino acids come in front, a strong double bond is formed between the sulfur atoms within the cysteine monomers. So these bonds are much stronger than other types of bonds in the tertiary structure. So they act like molecular safety pins, keeping parts of the polypeptide firmly attached to one another. Then ionic bond. So ionic bond is present in between the two different charges, positive charge and negative charge. So if two oppositely charged R groups are found close to each other, and ionic bond forms between them. Then hydrogen bonds. So polar R groups can form hydrogen bonds. So polar R groups means R group containing OH. For examples, serine, threonine amino acids. They can form hydrogen bonds when they come in front of each other. Then hydrophobic interaction. So interactions in which amino acids with non-polar hydrophobic R groups, they cluster together. They form hydrophobic bonds. So hydrophobic amino acid example, if two leucines come in front of each other, or one leucine, one isoleucine, or one valine and leucine, or any two hydrophobic amino acids, if they come in front of each other, they form hydrophobic interaction or hydrophobic bond. So these hydrophobic amino acids, they are always in the interior of a protein because they are not hydrophilic. So hydrophilic amino acids, they are always towards the exterior of a protein. You can see here a typical polypeptide backbone is shown. So we can see here the ionic bond present in between a positively charged amino acid and a negatively charged amino acid. Then hydrophobic interaction in between the two hydrophobic amino acid, that is valine. So these are the two side chains of the valine. Then disulfide bond, it is in between the two cysteine amino acids. There is a disulfide linkage. Then hydrogen bond is present in between the two OH containing amino acids. We can see here in this diagram disulfide bridge or disulfide bond in between the two cysteine, then salt bridge or ionic bond in between aspartic acid and lysine, then hydrophobic interaction in between the two phenylalanine. So they have aromatic side chains. So aromatic side chains are hydrophobic. So when they come in front of each other, they form hydrophobic interaction or hydrophobic bond. Then hydrogen bond in between the two serine, that is OH containing amino acids. Then we will see quaternary structure of a protein. So many proteins, they are made up of a single polypeptide chain and have only 3 levels of structure. So if a protein is having only a single polypeptide, then tertiary structure is their highest structure. But if the protein is of multi-subunit or made up of multiple polypeptides, then their higher structure is a quaternary structure. So many subunits, they come together to form a functional protein. So each polypeptide is called as a subunit. So quaternary structure of a protein is formed by interaction of different subunits. So when a protein is formed by identical subunit, it is called as homogeneous quaternary structure, and if it is formed by dissimilar subunit, it is heterogeneous quaternary structure. So in general, the same types of interactions that contribute to tertiary structure also hold the subunits together. So the bonding between the tertiary structure and quaternary structures are same. The only difference is here the subunits are more. The protein is having multiple subunits. So for example, hemoglobin. Hemoglobin has a quaternary structure because 2 alpha and 2 beta chains are there. Keratin is also having many subunits. Collagen is also having a subunits. So such proteins form quaternary structures. So here we can see the primary structure, secondary, tertiary and quaternary structure of a protein. So primary structure is just simply the sequence of amino acids. Secondary structure, it is either beta pleated sheet or alpha helix. Then tertiary structure is having all the possible primary and secondary structures present in it. So there is a localized folding. The polypeptide is having locally alpha helix, then beta pleated sheet, parallel as well as anti-parallel, then also sequence of amino acids. Everything is there in the tertiary structure. Then quaternary structure is many such polypeptides come together to form a quaternary structure. Then we will see types of proteins. So based on the role, functional role, proteins they are of two types, structural protein and functional protein. So structural protein give rise to a structure or give mechanical support to the cell or the animal's body, whereas functional protein they have some typical function. So first we will see the structural protein, that is keratin. So keratin is a fibrous structural protein of hairs, nails, horns, hooves, wool, feathers, and of the epithelial cells in the outermost layer of the skin. So keratin serves important structural and protective functions, particularly in the epithelium, that is the outermost layer of the epidermis is stratum corneum. So it is of dead cells, and in that keratin is present. So some keratins have also been found to regulate key cellular activities such as cell growth and protein synthesis. So keratin proteins can be subdivided into alpha keratins and beta keratins on the basis of their secondary structure. Alpha keratins they are found in the structures of a mammal. So they are primarily fibrous and helical in structure. So they are found in hair, wool, in the skin. Whereas the beta keratin they are found in the structures of birds and reptiles. So the amino acid composition of keratin also varies depending upon the tissue where it occurs. So of particular significance are cysteine residues, so which become covalently linked via disulfide bonds forming cysteines. So more number of cysteine, hence more strength of the keratin. So presence of cysteine gives insoluble nature to the keratin. So keratin, alpha keratin is again of two types, type 1 and type 2, that is acidic and basic type. So keratins have complex quaternary structures. So keratins they are dimers composed of type 1 and type 2 subunit. So type 1 acidic, type 2 basic subunits. So they form the dimers. So many such dimers associate to form protofilaments. So many protofilaments dimerize to form protofibrils. Protofibrils form tetramers called microfibrils, and microfibrils associated with macrofibrils. So you can see the helical keratin, how this helix forms a wire-like structure. So it gives rise to the hair. So this is the hierarchy of the alpha keratin. Then biological roles of keratin. What is the role of keratin? So it strengthens the hair. Keratin is a major component responsible for strengthening the hair, making it less likely to break. So our hairs they can uproot easily, so they cannot break if we apply force. Then coats and repairs damaged hair. Keratin helps to smooth and coat frizzy and frayed hair shafts. Then maintains healthy skin. Keratin helps Skin maintains its elasticity and firmness. Keratin controls cell growth and renewal, and which helps to soften and control wrinkles. Then skin pigmentation and protection. Keratin has an influence on melanin and skin pigmentation. Then it toughens the nails and bony structure. Keratin which causes nails to become less prone to chipping and breaking. So keratin is a major part of hardened structures of animals such as horns, hooves, beaks and even feathers. Then the clinical significance of keratin. If keratin is not properly synthesized, different types of disorders they can be formed. So epithelial origin in anaplastic cancers. Tumors that express keratin include carcinomas, thymomas, sarcomas and trophoblastic neoplasms. So there are different disorders related to keratin. Then collagen. So collagen is another structural protein. So it is the main structural protein in the extracellular space in various connective tissues in animal bodies. So in other words, collagen is the abundant protein in mammals. So it makes up 25 to 35% of the whole body protein content. So collagen consists of amino acids bound together to form triple helices. So it is found in fibrous tissues such as tendons, ligaments and skin. So these three alpha chains, they are twisted around one another in a right-handed rope-like structure to form a tight structure. The interaction of alpha chains is stabilized via interchain hydrogen bonding. So the triple helical structure of collagen arises from an unusual abundance of three amino acids, glycine, proline and hydroxyproline. So this triplet is repeated in the collagen, glycine, proline and X. So X stands for any amino acid or usually hydroxyproline is present. So this is possible, the tight packing of the collagen is possible because of glycine amino acid. So glycine is the smallest amino acid and its R chain is having just an hydrogen atom. So it can accommodate anywhere in the three-stranded helix structure. So hydrogen bonds linking the peptide bond of NH of a glycine residue with a peptide carbonyl group in an adjacent polypeptide help hold the three chains together. So you can see the triple helix of a collagen. It is about 1.4 nanometer. So amino acid sequence glycine XY. So glycine XY means glycine, proline, hydroxyproline. These three amino acids are there. They are repeatedly present in the collagen. So collagen also has many functions just like that of keratin. It also gives skin its strength, then waterproofing and elasticity. Collagen also found in cartilage, bone, blood vessels, cornea of the eye, intervertebral disc, muscles, and the gastrointestinal tract. Collagen makes up the walls of the veins, arteries, and capillaries of the body. This gives the vessel strength, structure, and flexibility. The connective tissue consists of primarily of a collagen. Collagen forms fibrils that provide the structure of our fibrous tissue, such as ligaments and tendons. Then clinical significance of collagen. If collagen is not formed properly in the body, different types of disorders may arise. So osteogenesis imperfecta. This is caused by a mutation in type 1 collagen. So it results in weak bone and irregular connective tissue. Then chondrodysplasia. It is a skeletal disorder believed to be caused by a mutation in type 2 collagen. Then osteoporosis. So here there is a reduced level of collagen in the skin and bones. So the bones become porous. Then Noble syndrome. So it is caused by mutation in the collagen 18A1 gene that codes for the production of collagen 18. Then Ehlers-Danlos syndrome caused by mutation in type 3 collagen. Then Alport syndrome. It can be passed on genetically. So sufferers have problems with their kidneys and eyes. Then we will see another quaternary structure, that is hemoglobin. So it is the iron containing oxygen transport metaboloprotein in the red blood cells of all vertebrates. So its main function is oxygen transport. So hemoglobin is red in color because of the heme present in the structure. So normal hemoglobin level in the adult male is 14 to 16 gram, and approximately 6.25 gram of the hemoglobin they are synthesized and destroyed every day. So heme structure does not vary from species to species. It is the basic protein globin that varies in amino acid composition. So globin is rich in histidine and lysine. So hemoglobin is actually the heme plus globin is equal to hemoglobin. So there are different variants of a human hemoglobin. HbA1, 2 alpha chains and 2 beta chains. HbF, that is fetal hemoglobin, 2 alpha chains and gamma chain. HbA2, so this is adult hemoglobin, embryonic hemoglobin. Then HbA3, altered form of HbA found in old red blood cells, and glycosylated hemoglobin. It is present in a diabetes mellitus condition. So structure of a hemoglobin, first we will see heme. So heme is iron porphyrin compound. So porphyrin is a tetrapyrrole structure. So ferrous or iron occupies the center of the porphyrin ring and establishes the linkages with all the 4 nitrogens of the pyrrole ring. Each heme molecule can bind single oxygen. So 4 heme molecules of hemoglobin can bind 4 oxygens. So heme binds to nitrogen of imidazole ring of histidine present in globin part when it forms hemoglobin. Then we will see the globin, structure of a globin. So the adult hemoglobin molecule is made up of 4 polypeptides, alpha 2 beta 2 chains, 2 alpha chains of 141 amino acid residues and 2 beta chains of 146 amino acid residues. So each alpha chain is in contact with both beta chains. So the alpha and beta chains have different sequences of amino acid but fold up to form similar 3-dimensional structures. The 4 polypeptide chains, they are held together by non-covalent interactions. There are 4 binding sites for oxygen on the hemoglobin molecule because each chain contains 1 heme. A heme group is attached to each of the 4 histidines. The heme consists of an organic part and an ion atom. So the hemoglobin molecule is nearly spherical with a diameter of 55 angstrom. The four chains are packed together to form a tetramer. So hemoglobin is called as honorary enzyme since it can be used to explain allosteric regulations of enzyme in an extremely suitable manner. So this is the structure of hemoglobin. You can see two alpha chains and two beta chains. So the prosthetic group heme containing iron. Total there are four. So biological roles of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin act as oxygen carrier. The main function of hemoglobin is to carry oxygen from the lungs to all the tissues of the body. Hemoglobin is also acting as a carbon dioxide carrier from tissues towards the lungs. It carries carbon dioxide. It also gives color to the blood. It also acts as buffering action. So hemoglobin also act as buffer. Buffer means to resist change in pH. Blood has 7.4 pH and it remains in the narrow range. Then erythrocyte metabolism. Hemoglobin plays an important role in the modulation of erythrocyte metabolism. Interaction with the drugs, not only for oxygen, but hemoglobin act a very important role the transport of various drugs to their site of action. Then hemoglobin oxidation triggers an onset of erythrocyte senescence. Once the 120 days lifespan is completed, the erythrocyte they will undergo senescence, that is self-destruction. Hemoglobin plays an important role in genetic resistance to malaria. Then clinical significance of hemoglobin. So hemoglobin deficiency can be caused either by decreased amount of hemoglobin molecules as in anemia or by decreased ability of each molecule to bind oxygen. So there are many abnormalities related to hemoglobin. Hemoglobinopathies, genetic defects resulting in abnormal structure of the hemoglobin. Then some mutations in the globin chain. They are also associated with the hemoglobinopathies such as sickle cell anemia and thalassemia. So whether alpha chain of hemoglobin mutation is there or in the beta chain some mutation is there. So this sickle cell anemia and thalassemia is because of misfolding of the polypeptide. Then elevated levels of hemoglobin they are associated with increased number of RBCs or sizes of RBCs. It is also called as polycythemia. So this elevation may be caused by congenital heart disease, pulmonary fibrosis, too much erythropoietin. If the hormone erythropoietin is synthesized in excess, it leads to this polycythemia. Then high hemoglobin levels may also be caused by exposure to high altitudes, smoking, dehydration, then advanced lung disease and certain tumors. Thank you.